All right, let's dive into one of the wildest, most unbelievable stories from World War II. This isn't a story about battles or generals, not really. It's a story about pure imagination and how one man managed to fight a war without ever firing a shot. So here's the big question for today. How on earth did a single person's creativity end up being one of the most important weapons in the Allied arsenal? How did he manage to fool the entire German high command at the most critical moment of the war? Well, let's meet the man behind the myth. So, this is the guy. And yeah, he doesn't exactly scream master spy, does he? This is Juan Pujol García. He wasn't a soldier or an intelligence officer. He was a chicken farmer, a hotel manager, just a regular guy. But he had this deep-seated conviction and a pretty incredible talent for making things up that would, quite literally, change the world. So you're probably wondering, how does a chicken farmer even get into the spy game? Well, for Pujol, his journey didn't start in World War II at all. It started in the fire and fury of the Spanish Civil War. You see, Pujol was caught between a rock and a hard place. He was forced to fight for the Republicans, a side he hated for their extremism. So he deserted, only to be thrown in prison by the other side, Franco's nationalists, for not being extreme enough. He ended up serving on both sides and hating both of them. And the key thing to get here is that his motivation wasn't about being pro-allies. It was about being fiercely, passionately anti-extremist. He looked at the world, he saw Nazi Germany as this ultimate threat, this ultimate form of extremism. And he saw Great Britain as really the last hope. So he decided, I have to do something. I have to contribute. He just knew he had to help Britain. But, getting started wasn't exactly a walk in the park. He tried to volunteer his services to the British, and they basically told him no thanks. So Pujol came up with this new plan, an absolutely brilliant, incredibly gutsy plan. If the British wouldn't hire him, he'd get the Germans to hire him first. You just can't make this stuff up. The British embassy in Madrid, they turned him down 3 times. But Pujol, pretending to be this fanatical Nazi supporter, just waltzes into the German embassy, and they signed him up almost on the spot. They gave him a crash course, some money, and even a bottle of invisible ink. So the Germans gave him his mission: go to Britain, build a whole network of spies. Simple enough, right? Except Pujol never even went to Britain, not one foot on British soil. Instead, he just moves to Lisbon, and from a public library there, he begins to invent his entire spy ring out of thin air. And what was his secret spy toolkit? Get this: a tourist guide to Britain, some train schedules, newsreels he watched at the local movie theater. He just pieced all this public information together and create these incredibly detailed, very convincing reports, all without ever leaving Portugal. It was 100% fiction, and the Germans absolutely loved it. Now, of course, he wasn't perfect. He made some pretty funny mistakes because, well, he'd never been to the UK. My favorite has to be this one, where he told his German handlers that one of his Scottish agents could be bribed with a liter of wine. A unit of measurement that nobody in Britain used. But, amazingly, the Germans were so impressed with him that they just didn't even notice. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Pujol's fake reports, which the British were intercepting, were so believable that they actually started a massive manhunt for a German super spy operating in the UK, a spy who, didn't actually exist. It took them a while, but eventually they figured out what was really going on. The real game changer came when Pujol just straight up invented a massive Allied convoy. The German Navy went nuts trying to find it, wasting all this time and fuel chasing ghosts. And that's when MI5 had this huge lightbulb moment. They realized this guy wasn't a threat. He was a golden opportunity. They tracked him down, and this time they brought him to Britain for real. Once he was in London, MI5 gave him his legendary codename Garbo. Why Garbo? Because his handler, a guy named Thomas Harris, said he was simply the best actor in the world. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. The stage was now set for his greatest performance. With MI5's resources behind him, Garbo's little one-man show exploded. He and Harris created an entire cast of, get this, 27 different imaginary agents. 27, each with their own backstory and personality. And the best part? The Nazis were paying for the whole thing. And the level of detail here is just wow. These weren't just names on a page. He had a Venezuelan student, a disgruntled Welsh nationalist, even the leader of a made-up fascist group. At one point, they had to kill off one of the agents. They planted an obituary in the paper, and the Germans were so convinced they started paying a pension to the agent's completely fictional widow. Okay, so all this elaborate fiction, this ghost network, it was all building up to one single massive moment, the D-Day landings. Garbo's most important mission was going to be something called Operation Fortitude, a huge deception plan to trick Hitler into thinking the invasion was coming at the wrong place. So the Allies start building this massive ghost army in southeast England. We're talking inflatable tanks, dummy airplanes, fake radio chatter, the whole shebang. The goal was to create this powerful illusion that a massive army was about to cross the channel at Pas de Calais. And Garbo? He was their star salesman, the voice that would sell this lie directly to German high command. Okay, so it's the morning of D-Day. The invasion is on. Garbo sends his big warning message at 3 a.m. and crickets. The German radio operator is literally asleep for 5 hours. What could have been a total disaster actually turned into a stroke of pure genius. When the operator finally woke up and got back on the radio, Garbo could add even more accurate, up-to-the-minute details, making it look like he was right all along, just tragically late. So what does Garbo do? Apologize for the delay? No way. He goes on the offensive. He tears into his German handlers, scolding them for their incompetence. He basically told them, "I'm risking my life, and you can't even stay awake to receive my messages?" And they totally bought it. They were so terrified of losing him that they apologized profusely. His credibility was now untouchable. And with that credibility at an all-time high, he delivered the knockout punch. He told the Germans that yes, the Normandy invasion was happening, but it was just a diversion. The real attack, he insisted, from a massive 75-division army was still coming at Pas de Calais. In reality, about a third of that army was pure fiction. The Germans believed him, keeping powerful tank divisions in the wrong place, waiting for an invasion that would never come. Garbo's deception was absolutely crucial for D-Day's success. It saved countless Allied lives. But his story doesn't stop there. In fact, what happens after the war is almost as hard to believe as what happened during it. Think about this for a second. Juan Pujol García achieved something that is pretty much unheard of. In July of 1944, Hitler himself signed off on giving him the Iron Cross for his amazing service to Germany. Just a few months later, King George VI made him a member of the Order of the British Empire for his service to Britain. He was literally decorated by both sides of the war for the exact same actions. After the war, Pujol was, understandably, a little worried about old Nazis looking for revenge. So MI5 helped him pull one last disappearing act. They helped him fake his own death. The official story was that he died of malaria in Africa. In reality, he moved to Venezuela, ran a little bookstore, and lived a completely quiet, anonymous life for nearly 40 years. It's just wild. Pujol's incredible story was basically lost to history until the 1980s. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? We always learn about the big names, the generals, and the politicians, but how many of history's most pivotal moments were actually shaped by someone completely unseen, someone nobody's ever heard of? Like a chicken farmer from Barcelona with an incredible imagination.